Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this very, very important webinar. We are here today for a wonderful discussion on the importance of music in the early years. My name is Rohini Vij, and I'm a professional storyteller and the founder of NutSpace. NutSpace is an edtech platform that is working towards building life skills in children with stories at the core.
Everybody. Welcome to this very, very important webinar. We're here today for...
So with stories at the core of the lesson. And I am very, very excited to share that for this very special webinar, we have partnered with Boogie. But before I get started with introducing Boogie to you, I'd like to share a link with you in the chat box. At any point during the webinar, if you have a question, you may post your question here on this link. Towards the end of the discussion, we will be having a Q&A session. So this will be a good way to, somebody from our end will be moderating the questions as well. So I'm just going to share the link with you. Do open it up and keep posting your questions here for the Q&A later. And now getting started on a little bit about what this webinar is. And also, most importantly, I'd like to introduce you all to Boogie to tell you all a little bit about Boogie Boogie award-winning music programs are tried, tested, and recommended following extensive use across UK schools, preschools, and parent groups. They provide early years teachers and parents with the knowledge, the confidence, and the resources to harness the incredible power of creative music making for supporting children's early development. The Boogie songs are written by Harriet Thomas, and the programs compiled by the Boogie team provide an easy-to-use music resource that engages and uplifts both the children and adults taking part. The programs are informed by the neuromusical evidence that explains the cross-curricular benefits. We are delighted to have Boogie trainer Liv McLennan here today to tell us about these benefits and to share some songs that you will be given access to and can try out in your schools or at home. To tell you all a little bit about Liv, Liv is a community musician and has worked for Boogie as a tutor and trainer for 12 years. Liv has contributed to the compilation of Boogie teacher training notes and workshops. She loves bringing the joys and benefits of music making to everyone involved with children in the early years, including parents, families, and early childhood practitioners, and enabling everyone to find their musical voice. As well as holding the Certificate in Music Workshop Skills from Goldsmiths College, she was part of the first cohort to be awarded the Level 4 Certificate for Music Educators, Early Childhood in 2018, and is halfway through a PhD researching intergenerational music making in care homes at Guildhall School of Music and Drama. Liv also plays the cello, Highland bagpipes, and the ukulele, and uses singing in her community work. Welcome, Liv. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Rohini. It's an honor to be here with you and your wonderful colleagues. Thank you for inviting us.
So as we all know, and also I'd like to welcome all of you as more and more teachers and parents are joining in. I'd like to thank all of you for taking out the time for this very important discussion about the integration of music in the early years and why is music so important and how can we integrate it in the best possible way. Liv, using her tremendous experience in the field and the experience of Boogie is going to be guiding us, sharing some important information with us, and also demonstrating a few songs for us. So to get started, Liv, we all know that the early years are a very crucial time in the life of a child. This, as we all know, is the time for setting the foundation for lifelong learning. And also, the brain is growing at a rapid pace in the first 3 years. So how can parents and the early years educators use music effectively? And most importantly, what does scientific research say?
That's a great question. So what I'm going to do, because I think to be able to use music effectively, to have an understanding of why music is probably the best place to start for us all. I've got a few slides later, but just first off, the neuroscience evidence is telling us that music can develop or help develop the brain in ways that promote a really wide range of benefits and skills and behavioral skills and capabilities as well. So has a great impact on memory, language skills as well, some math skills, physical skills, being able to emotional self-regulation, and really impacts on our well-being and happiness too. So as you mentioned, it has the most, the brain kind of develops at the greatest rate in those early years. So I'm going to just show you a little bit about that and how music is actually one of the best ways to support that development. So hopefully everyone can see my slide. Is that okay? Give us a nod if you can.
Yes.
I'm going to take that.
Maybe you could start sharing again because we see a blank screen at the moment. So, yeah, could you try it again? You could try it again. No worries. Yeah.
Let's do that. How strange. It was working earlier, wasn't it?
That's okay. That's technology. Okay.
Doesn't matter because I can talk through it. Yes. Same again. Is it blank?
It's showing, Liv. Okay. Then it's slightly hazy. Maybe it's appearing hazy to me. I'm not sure, but it is slightly. But it's okay. I mean, you can take us through your slides. No problem.
Okay. Well, just let me know if we need to get rid of them. That's too distracting. So as we were saying, and you quite rightly pointed out, Rohini, is that there is so much development in those early years. And what we know is that the brain grows to 90% of its adult size by the age of 4. So that's an incredible amount of development in those first 4 years. And we have these things called neural connections or synapses that basically help us process information and sends all the information around our brain. So these develop at a really fast rate in these first few years. And by the age of, say, 2 to 3, that's when we have the most amount of these synapses. And then this kind of process called synaptic pruning starts, whereby you really strengthen the connections that are used regularly. And then we prune or lose those that we're not using. And the more synapses and the stronger connections mean kind of better information processing for us in our brains and in our bodies as well. So there are kind of 2 things that influence our synaptic growth. That's our genes, which we can't really do much about, and then the environment that we live in and that we are exposed to as well. And then these synapses die back through a lack of stimulus. And it's, I don't know if you have a saying, but we have a saying, use it or lose it in the UK. And it is all about that repetition to really strengthen those connections as well. So, I mean, this is a picture, and I don't know how hazy it is. It looks great on my screen, but you can see the kind of all these neural connections here. So as a newborn, there aren't that many, and then they're growing and developing. 9 months to, if you see 2 years, at 2 years old, we have the most connections there. Okay, and then as an adult, which is on the far kind of right hand side, they have much thicker connections, but a little bit fewer. That synaptic pruning has done its work. So how does this all relate to music? You might be wondering. I'm here to learn about music, not the brain. But actually musicians and access and exposure to music shows that we have an advantage as musicians. So music making itself, whether that's listening, but particularly taking part, draws on lots of different areas of the brain at the same time. And that supports lots of different aspects of development. And actually it's one of the most effective ways that we can support brain development in the early years. The brain is a multisensory organ, and music making is a multisensory activity. And there's a wonderful researcher called Dr. Anita Collins, and she's in, I think she's in Australia. but she likens it to fireworks, and actually the effect of music is like fireworks going off in the brain. So if you imagine any other kind of activity, it's like having a little fireworks display in our back garden or backyard. But actually when we do music, it's like having a whole fireworks parade going by. And then no other activity has been seen to have such an effect on the whole brain. And she calls it a whole brain workout. So it's not about, it's also about kind of fitness, brain fitness as well.
This is absolutely fascinating. A workout for the brain.
Yes, yeah. And, you know, it really does help physically, emotionally, you know, mentally, cognitively. And as we can see here, you know, we have these neural networks, and they're all connected within the main areas of the brain as well. A kind of neural network is a collection of cells, basically, that help to transport information all around. And all of these networks here are impacted by music making. So we have things, you know, about making sense of language, that sense of reward, being able to how to do things, you know, the steps and the processes needed, predicting what comes next. All of these can be addressed and supported through music. And then, you know, emotionally as well, our mood, our resilience, and, you know, how we can learn about empathy as well. So loads of things that are being stimulated through music. So I don't know if we can carry on. I'm happy to, or do you want to, how do you want to?
It's amazing that you say this, you know, about, so I mean, like you say that, you know, you use it right there, right at the beginning. So what I wanted to, you know, looking at these images that you showed us, when it comes to the brain circuitry, I think it's better to fix it in the early years than to try and fix it later, is what I draw from what you've, you know, discussed right now or shown us or shared with us. So, you know, that brings me to a very fascinating question, and I'm not sure if there's any scientific research, and maybe you could throw some light on that, is around music being exposed to the child when the child is still in the womb. So what do you think, you know, how do you think it helps, and does it, or is there any scientific research in that space?
Yeah, well, as we've seen earlier in those slides, you know, the brain's developing at an incredibly fast rate in those early years. So it's true that the more we can do to help develop those, pre-birth, then the better as well. So there is a little bit of research that listening and experiencing music as the fetus is in the womb actually helps to stimulate the fetus's brain. It's amazing, and assists with those growths of the brain structures as well. So, you know, it's not just from birth, it's kind of leading post-birth as well. And there's some new studies that suggest that babies actually remember the music that they've been exposed to and listened to from the room for up to 4 months after after they've been born. So, you know, singing to the bump and everything is a great way of doing that. Listening to music, perhaps dancing around, you know, that will all have an impact, and babies will recognize it as well afterwards, like they recognize their parents' voices.
Wow, that's amazing. So once the baby is born, you know, how best can a parent use that important phase? Like you've said, that maximum brain connections are happening at that time. So what is the best that they can do right from, you know, by the moment the child is born? What do you advise new parents or parents to do, you know, to do?
Yeah. So I think, you know, for me, it's that the children really, they just want to hear the parents' voices. And, you know, it's important for parents to kind of be aware of the benefits as well. And that will hopefully motivate them to include music within their day. So what I suggest, the ways, you know, you've got lots of things to think about as a new parent, haven't you? And, you know, this wonderful bundle of joy has arrived, but wow, you know, it turns your life upside down. So the easiest way to think about music is to try and involve it throughout the day as part of your normal routine. So if you're, you know, walking outside, whether that's in a sling or, you know, in a buggy, when you're playing, perhaps when you've got nappy change times, nap times, even, you know, if you've got transport on the bus or in a car, and, you know, when the whole family's together, all these little opportunities that you can use to incorporate music. whether that's listening or, you know, particularly taking part in it and singing and vocalizing as well, particularly at this age. You know, and also really taking on board, my research in intergenerational music making. So I'm really keen on getting lots of different generations together, sharing their favorite musics, their maybe their own music from childhood as well. You know, that really helps to create that sense of value of music, that social connection, and also passing stories and songs from generation to generation. You know, it's not, don't do it alone, involve the whole family and the community if you can.
How absolutely wonderful. I think that's really amazing to, you know, get different generations to sing and share and pass down music that's being sung in the home or the family. That's great. I think that's a wonderful advice for new parents and parents to be. But thinking now from the point of view of an educator, we at NutSpace have been using Boogie Mites resources for now many years now. And we have this early years class that we run at NutSpace where we have children, you know, from birth. So we say birth to crawling. That's the earliest program that we have. But so far, we've always had children, say, probably as young as 6 months or 7 months. Most recently, we had a 40-day-old baby attending the class, the youngest you know, child attending a NutSpace class. So but then, you know, there's one question that always comes to us, especially when we enroll for a child that young, is one, my child cannot speak, right? So my child will not be able to sing along. That's one. Second, my child, you know, should I come to class if my child is sleeping, or if my child falls asleep during the lesson? So this is also, I think, probably for parents as well, and also for educators in the earlier space. uh, how do you handle that, and is music benefiting the child even when language is not developed, is
Oh,
what I'm trying to ask. Yeah.
such great questions. I've just written a few notes down there, so there's quite a complicated answer to kind of work out. Oh, but you know, I've seen your some recordings of your classes, Rohini. I'd love to come along. They look so much fun. And I think what you're showing that's really important is just how engaging you are as a practitioner. Joe, just to say that, and I think that is kind of half the battle as well, particularly with very, very young children. It's how do you create that attention and that relationship between you, and of course it's being engaging. So in terms of babies themselves, they are vocalizing, so they might not be singing in how we understand it as adults, but they are vocalizing, and there's a communication between adult and child, whether that's a parent or practitioner, and that is building those early kind of blocks and foundations for communicative language, which is really important. So even if you think, oh, what's the point, they're not singing, they're communicating, and they are vocalizing, which is the first step towards singing as well. So when you mentioned about kind of sleep or falling asleep, that's absolutely fine, because babies are on their own time scales, aren't they? And if you are either in a setting, or perhaps a parent's taking to a class, actually a lot of the benefit is for the parents or the practitioners as well, not just all the kind of emotional benefits, social benefits, but also giving them the skills and confidence to carry on the music making at home. So even though that baby might not be awake for the 40-minute class, the parents learning the skills, and then they can carry on that music making at home, which actually increases the benefits of them. So, you know, that's all fine. I just also would say that, you know, when parents are singing or practitioners are singing, you know, that has a great effect on our bodies physically. We calm down, we have all these wonderful, I can show a slide if you want, all these amazing kind of hormonal changes as well on our brain. The temperatures between babies, children and the adult will co-regulate. So if you're feeling calm and, you know, you're doing all this wonderful music making, even if baby's asleep, you know, there will be a physical co-regulation there, breathing patterns, skin temperature and mood as well. So even if they're sleeping, there's a lot of benefit to still having them there as you are singing. So yeah, it's definitely worth pursuing.
It's amazing how you say this, because I felt it myself. I may have, maybe having the most stressful day, but when I go in for my baby class, I come back all rejuvenated. And I think it's got to do with the positive energy exchange, like you mentioned, the temperatures and the voice and the calming of music and all of that. It's wonderful that there's research there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's oxytocin. We probably all know this in terms of birth and stuff. Yeah. But that when we sing, our levels of oxytocin rise as well. So, we immediately feel bonded to the people we're singing with. That's just our children or the whole group as well. And endorphins are released. So our notion of pain, it's that kind of the greatest natural painkiller is endorphins. We've got dopamine that assists in kind of memory as well, and serotonin. So all these feel-good hormones that are released as we sing. So loads more benefits to, we've obviously got the music side, but the other side, that it's fine that when children are sleeping, we're still grabbing those benefits.
I'm sure the educators and the parents here will start singing more often now after hearing of all these benefits from you. I have another question. So, again, talking about my experience in the early years space and with music in the classroom. So I have, so moving on from infants to maybe say toddlers or slightly older children, say 5 to 7 years, that age group. A lot of times, so there are some songs by Boogie Mites that are so well loved. All our classes start with the bangity bang bang, and so we have that. Everybody, all the children are actually looking forward to certain songs more than the others. So they want the same song over and over again. But a lot of times the parents tell us, okay, it's the same song over and over again. We're bored, or my child is bored, and and I don't think the child is bored, but what do you have to say for that?
I would tend to agree. Particularly at this age group, repetition is something that is developmentally kind of fairly standard. That again, more is what we see, particularly 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. So absolutely, my opinion, as I mentioned earlier about the synaptic development, is the repetition. So even as adults, if we feel, oh, not this again, actually there's so many benefits for the child and their brain development in to keep repeating it. But also, just a little tip, if you are feeling a little bit bored, and it might be appropriate, depending on the child and what they want, to maybe approach the song in a slightly different way. You might change the words to match it to what's going on, depending on the song. You might want to try it with instruments or without instruments. So there's lots of different ways you can vary it without having to do it exactly the same way, unless that is what the child wants to do and they really love that kind of comfort of it being in exactly the same way. So it's obviously working with the individuals there. And I'm just saying, I've been 12 years with Boogie Mites, and I because when we do the songs, I'm doing it with different people in different ways, with different groups, I haven't never got bored with them. There is just something about them, they're just so catchy. So I understand as well from a parent's perspective. But just try and think about how you might vary that then for your own benefit as well as your child's.
Right, I think I've seen that in the Boogie Mites playlist as well. So we have this song which is very, very popular, at least very loved with our group, is Chocolate Cake and Hands Up Who Likes Chocolate Cake. Children love that song. My daughter, who's 3, loves that song. But also there's another version of that song with broccoli and healthy living. So like you said, add a twist to the song. And so we already have that kind of resource available where the same song is available in a different version to take away from the boredom, if any, although like you said, repetition is key. So another thing I'd like to ask, and I think for the benefit of everyone over here, is because mostly we have educators and parents from India tuning in today, is about the language that we are exposing our children to. So I hear English is a second language. So what are the benefits of introducing children to music which is not in their mother tongue? So
absolutely. So in general, music and language are really linked to what we call phonologically the sound processing. So whatever language that's in, that's all going to help with language development. So music is a kind of human behavior, human process, and it's across most of the world's cultures. So it probably doesn't matter too much, and it can only enhance people's linguistic capabilities and love of music if it's in a different language. I've also had a look at a few pieces of research about dual language learning as well, and I think it's incredible that there are so many diverse languages in your country. You're very lucky, I think. But there actually seems to be great benefits for children who are exposed to 2 or more languages, and that with executive control skills and cognitive flexibility, being able to think in 2 different language systems, and task switching, being able to kind of make the choice as well, the active choice to discuss or converse in different languages. And those benefits seem to be, and skills seem to be quite high in dual language learners, and you can start that obviously from birth or pre-birth, as we've discussed. So yeah, I think there are lots of benefits, and also just on a very basic level, it's a fun way to learn language through music, and like you are, through storytelling as well. It's a great way. We remember things a lot more easily with music as well. I remember when I learned French, we got Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes as a song, and we and I cannot forget that, and I learned that about when I was 12 years old. So these things stick with you. So I'd say there's only benefits to be doing lots of different languages and music through different languages as well.
It's interesting you said this, because very recently, a parent told me that my pediatrician told me to only converse with my child in one language because multiple languages will confuse the child. And I was taken aback, because with my children, I've spoken to them. Unfortunately, I only know 2 languages. I wish I knew more, but I've always spoken to them in both the languages. And like you said, they very well think in both the languages, and they know when to switch. And even if they're speaking in, a combination of both, it's great. So do you have anything to say? Do you think a single language approach is the one that should be? Although I know we are talking about music, but interestingly,
well, I'm not a speech and language therapist or anything like that. So from conversations I've had, it's contextual. So it just depends. Lots of people choose to just speak one language at home and then another outside if they maybe aren't living in the native culture. But I think it's down to each family and what works for them. And I know friends as well who speak different languages, and they can answer their one parent in one language, one parent in another, and just have a lovely rich environment at home. So is only my personal opinion. I think it's great, and it kind of opens up the world and different ways of thinking and processing language and experiencing the world. So I think that's a great benefit to have.
Right. And like you said, it's a great way to learn a foreign language. And so language takeaway is kind of an obvious takeaway of music, or introducing children to music in a different language in the early years. But what about, so I have read on the Boogie Mites website that numeracy skills get developed using music. So could you share some more benefits of music?
Absolutely. I mean, foundations for maths through music, there's a really strong link there. Music's built around patterns, sequences, which particularly when we're thinking early years, that really ties into their mathematical development. Our songs also use positional language. By that I mean, high, low, left and right. So we're experiencing these concepts through our bodies and through music making as well. So learning happens not just about the languages, but how we understand these concepts. There's also a strong correlation between kind of music learning and spatial awareness skills. So knowing that things will fit, for example. So all these great skills that children are learning in the early years. But also, some of the world's most renowned scientists were also musicians. So in terms of, actual skills, being a musician can tie in really well with science. So Einstein, he played violin and piano. So Borodin, who's a kind of Western classical composer, he was a doctor and chemist by trade. And of course, you've got your, India's C.V. Raman, he was a music enthusiast and studied all the acoustical properties of music, particularly Indian percussion. So, there's lots of links there that we can draw on. And I've got a little quote from Leibniz, who's a philosopher. He says, "Music is the pleasure of the human soul." So yes, from and they experience some counting without being aware that it is counting. So it's learning through stealth almost. Music is a hidden exercise in arithmetic. So you can sneak in lots of this mathematical learning without knowing it. So we're just having fun making music, but actually we can link it to all these other concepts as well. Wow. Hope that made sense.
Yes, I think so. It's beginning to all add up now for me. So I also wanted to, we have a lot of early years educators here with us today. And so I was wondering if you could, share some tips on how to integrate music effectively in the early years classroom.
So for me, the kind of the foundation is around confidence, practitioner confidence. How do we build that confidence? The first step is kind of training, so you can gain the knowledge and the skills, and obviously find the resources as well, and then good old repetition. So you don't have to be musically trained to use music effectively in the early years. We aren't playing full-on symphonies. It's a different way. We are experiencing music together in a different way. So yeah, regular daily music, and like with parents, it's about trying to find those points in the day that we can integrate music, whether that's routines, nappy change times, snack times, going outside, lots of different ways you can just have a little song to help ease those transitions. But being enthusiastic as well, and really trying to engage your children, as you do, Rohini. Everyone should watch Rohini's videos. That's a really surefire way of being able to effectively kind of integrate music into the classroom. Using themes that are really exciting for children. I know children we work with in the UK love things like stories, dinosaurs, transport, things that they can make lots of sound with as well, props and instruments. And we use a lot of homemade stuff, and I can show you those later when we actually do the songs. And yeah, just maybe a balance of adult-led and child-led. So just, leaving some props out and instruments and seeing what happens with some child-led musical play. So lots of different ways that you can, integrate music and really make it a focus. Don't have background music on, actually make the music that you're doing together the focus of that session. And then children can really concentrate and hear what's going on and get all those benefits that we've talked about throughout this time.
Right. I think in my classroom, because it's a combination of music and stories that I use, so I always like to start my class with music, and it helps us I think align in terms of energies, because I think when we are coming into class, we're all carrying our individual baggages. Children are stressed, or sometimes the energy level is really high and sometimes it's really low. So it works as a great warm up, an icebreaker. And I think the first 5-7 minutes I usually spend singing, dancing, jumping, and then we all settle down to the next part of the lesson. So that's in any other class. Of course, in our early years classes, we use music in the majority part of the lesson. And I believe the advice for the parents, like you've already said, remains the same. But what about training? Like, what do you think? So we understand that we're not really doing very technical stuff, but then for an early years practitioner and an early years educator, how can training help them to integrate music effectively?
Well, I think it gives the confidence I was talking about, and really specific resources, because people can go, oh yeah, I like music and I sing a bit, but actually knowing how to use it effectively for an education purpose, whether you're a parent or a practitioner, is really, really important. Yeah, and I suppose that ongoing framework that you can use to develop your own music practice as well. I think that's really where it's important, and it's why I always try to do CPD or professional development every year, just to keep fresh as well. Boogie Mites offers training, and I know you offer some training as well in all of this, and we might talk about that in a bit. So yeah, and we have online digital resources as well that can support people in the training. I'm happy to show that maybe after we do some music making, just to show what resources people get and can get through our programs.
Sure, sure. I think maybe we could go on to the demonstration now, because I think everybody is really looking forward to the demonstration that you have for us today. And perhaps then after that, you could show us your digital resources and the page and how the shop looks. But yeah, we'd like to hear what you have for us.
Oh, so I'm just putting my speakers on and just making sure. But yeah, I've got 4 songs to show. So I will do these quite quickly. But just while we're setting up, if you do have maybe access to some wooden spoons, or I've got kind of sticks there, then go and grab them. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You can use your hands. Oh, you've got them, Rohini. Fabulous. We can use in our body. And so if you can have something to bang on, whether that's a box or the table, that would be great. But first, I think we need to move our bodies. We need to feel that kind of endorphin hit that a lot of people do get through music. So I'm going to invite you to stand with, we've got, I can see a few boxes at the top. We've got children here ready to go as well. So I'm going to invite you to stand with me, and we are going to do a song called I Feel Alive. I was just trying to, here we go. No. Anyway, so if you stand, and can you just shake your shoulders for me? Here we go. And then can we just do some running on the spot? Can we run together and stop? And we're going to run again and stop. And once more, run and stop. Fabulous. Okay, we're shaking our shoulders. Can you show me where your arms are? If we get our arms spinning around. Oh, it's so lovely seeing. Oh, we've got people wiggling as well and jumping. Excellent. And can we bend down and touch the floor? Touching our toes and then stretching up tall. Well done. And then we are going to go down side to side, bending down low. This is a great physical warm-up, particularly when we've been sat down for so long. And then just going from the left to the right, it probably comes up opposite. We can move side to side and then jumping up and down. Great stuff. So that's all the actions. And then in the chorus, I sing, I feel alive. And then you just repeat that back. I feel alive. I feel alive, 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 I feel alive. Okay, we are ready to go. I feel alive. Hopefully you can hear this okay. I'll move it up a little bit. Okay, everyone, let's start with some clapping and dancing. Well done, looking good. Okay, let's do our singing. I feel alive. 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 Well done. I feel alive. I feel alive. I feel alive. Okay, get our shoulders. Shoulders up and down. I feel alive. Just touch them. Some beautiful dancing. Spin my arms around and around. I feel to run. I just wanna run and stop. Holding still, well done. We jumping up and down. 'Cause it's fun. Woo! Yeah, nothing in the world that I can do. 'Cause I'm fit and healthy and happy to feel alive. Okay, here we go, everyone. Last chorus. I feel alive. 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 Feel alive. I feel alive. Okay, we're all gonna go. I feel alive at the end. Feel alive. Yay! Well done, everyone. Hopefully we are a bit more warmed up now.
Wow, that was amazing. That was a great warm up.
Great for fitness. Let's all catch our breaths a little bit.
Great for fitness, yes. And I could see a lot of you had switched on your videos and the children were dancing, and that's great. And just a request for the others as well. There are 3 more songs, so you can bring the children in if you want to. Turn on your videos and join in as we boogie. And one more reminder, I have posted a link on the chat box in case you have any questions for Liv. Please post your questions there using that link. So yeah, Liv, over to you for the next one.
Thank you. So, we could see the physical benefits of that one, raising our heart rate, the positional language, it's all coming together now, left and right, jumping up and down. So we're going to kind of move on to the real language benefits as well. So this song is called what's it called? Let's tap a word. That's the one. So when we think about language learning and breaking songs down into their syllables or their rhythms, this is a great song to help that. So we're going to be tapping some words together. I'm just going to show you half because of the time, but we can use props as well. Love a few props. This is a dog. Can we tap the word dog together? You can either clap or use your sticks. Let's tap dog. Dog. And again, dog. Let's tap dog. 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 Well done. So that's 1 syllable. And we also have, here we go. This is Mr. Rabbit. Rabbit. We have 2 taps for rabbit. Let's try tapping rabbit. Let's tap rabbit. 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 Let's tap rabbit. 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 So you can really feel the feel the syllables. It's not just an intellectual concept, it's an embodied one as well. So we're going to be waving our sticks around, and let me hear you shout, yay! And tapping down low, and we're going to go. So all of these different actions as well through the tapping.
Have you heard? We're gonna tap.
Can we do some tapping together?
So take your sticks. Woo. It goes like this.
Let's tap a word. Let's tap a word. Let's tap a word. Now tap. Let's tap a word. Tap, tap, tap and be happy. Let's tap a word. What will it be? Let's tap dog. Dog. Let's tap dog. 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 Well done. Now shake it all about. Woo! Let me hear you shout, yay! Tap down low. Let's go. Well done, everyone. Let's tap a word. Let's tap a word. Let's tap a word. Now tap. Rabbit. Let's tap a word. Tap, tap and be happy. Let's tap a word. What will it be? Are we ready for rabbit? Rabbit. 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 Let's tap rabbit. 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 Now shake it all about. Yay! Let me hear you shout. Woo! Tap down low. Let's go. Are we ready? Yeah! Let's tap a word. Let's tap a word. Now tap. Well done, everyone. There are 2 more verses on that where we obviously go to the 3 syllables and a 4 syllable one, but I'm really conscious of time and being able to answer any questions as well. But you're really feeling how language is broken down into these smaller units of sounds like that. And it's just great fun. That is quite fast. It's quite good for the upper age group. If you want to do that song with slightly younger children, you might like to try it maybe without the backing music to start with, and just taking it really slowly, maybe just doing 1 verse, 2 verses, or just integrating it when they're pointing to something, you know, or they're looking at something. You could just do a little bit of that song. So it's really adaptable for different age ranges as well. I'm going to move on to some drumming, and just to mention at this stage, here we go. Boogie Mites uses homemade props and resources and instruments. Actually, I'm going to bring this up so I'm not crouching. And it's really important to us that music is accessible, not just as a subject, but also in terms of cost as well. As we know, that's something that lots of people globally are challenged by. So, this is just a tin wrapped in some decorative paper, and you can have different noises through that. And this is just doweling that I got from my local DIY store, but you can use wooden spoons or anything, pencils, anything that you might have, even twigs. That would be great just to tap together. Or if you don't have any of this body percussion, it's great. But these can make really exciting sounds and a big range of sounds as well. Oh, we've got a drum there. I can see one with piles. So yeah, great from lots of different ages too. I'm going to bring this down now. So this song is great, particularly in the really kind of developing 2 to 3 year olds, but I'm sure you can use it for younger age groups, and definitely for the older age groups as well. So this is called I'm Going to Tap. So this brings together the tapping. We're going to tap, and then we're going to bang. So they were sequencing 2 different types of movements. So I'd say keep tapping for quite a few beats, get the children grooving with you, and then introduce that. So not quick changes for the 2 to 3 year olds age group. Now with drumming as well, I like to warm up first. So let's all do a big drum roll together. Can we make lots of noise? And stop. And can we drum there? Stop. Can we try it really quietly? Drumming and stop. Once more. Stop. And you might like to do lots of games like that with the children you're working with, some warm-up songs first before getting to the tapping and the banging. So yeah, so it is about warming up the activities, introducing children to the concepts, not just putting on the music and playing. So there's a whole kind of sequence of things that we would recommend getting to the song. So can you tap along with me? We're gonna tap, tap, tap on our sticks. We're gonna tap, tap, tap on our sticks. We're gonna tap, tap, tap on our sticks. Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna tap on our sticks. Can we bang? We're gonna bang, bang, bang on our drums. We're gonna bang, bang, give yourselves a big tap. So that's all quite exciting, being able to manipulate all of that noise making capabilities. I'm going to just bring it down a little bit now and do a couple of verses of our peekaboo song just to relax us. So we've gone through, we've warmed up, we've excited ourselves, we made lots of noise, and we are just going to take this opportunity just to chill out. So if you do have anything like this, bit of fabric or scarf to hand, that's great, you can grab it now. If not, don't worry, we have our hands that we can use. So that's a great thing about these songs. You don't have to have lots of instruments, props. You can just use our bodies and our singing and our movements with the children. But anyway, let's play some peekaboo. Are we ready to play some peekaboo together? Peekaboo! Peekaboo! Where has your head gone? What shall we do? So I'm doing a bit of signing in there. I use Makaton. There might be other sign systems that you use and can incorporate with this song. Are we ready? Peekaboo, peekaboo. Here's your head, now you can see me too. So we're going to play peekaboo with our heads. We're going to play a bit of peekaboo with our hands. So you can maybe hide them behind your back or under a bit of scarf. Are we ready? Peekaboo. Have a little wave from everyone. Peekaboo. Where have your hands gone? What shall we do? Peekaboo. Peekaboo. Here are your hands. Count 1 and 2. So we'll just do it with the music now. Just those 2 verses. And you can hear how I did it without the music and then how it works with the music too. Let's start over our heads. Peekaboo, peekaboo. Where little head gone, what shall we do? Peekaboo, peekaboo. Here's your head, now you can see me too. Oh, you could use your screens on and off as well. Let's do it with our hands. Where have our hands gone? Peekaboo, peekaboo. Where have your hands gone? What shall we do? Peekaboo, hi, peekaboo. Here are your hands, count 1 and 2. Well done, everyone. Give yourselves a big clap. So there's snippets there of all of the songs, and you can have access to those after the event. So thank you for joining in with me. It's so beautiful to see people moving around, playing peekaboo and just enjoying the benefits of music.
Thank you so much, Liv. I think that was really wonderful, and I could see that everybody was enjoying themselves. The ones who switched on their cameras, I could see the excitement there. The children came in, and I think it was really rejuvenating for everybody over here. And I'm glad that you took up 4 different songs and showed us how to use them. So before I move to the questions, I have one question for you, and that is, during the engagement, you mentioned that, you shouldn't just play the song. There's a lot of activity you need to do before, during, and after the song. So could you share a little bit, how do you plan the musical engagement, especially in a classroom setting?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's thinking about that. I suppose I'm going to use the word gamification, but how do you make it fun? How do you make it into a game? So the learning happens, and it's not this is our learning objective today. It's all through the music. So, with the instruments, for example, children need to get used to it. They want to just explore the sounds, perhaps doing some call and response. They might like to lead a beat or a rhythm that we all copy back. We might like to pass a sound, whether that's through the instruments, whether that's vocally. And it just gets children and adults tuned in to that music making, bonding as a group through music. And then you can take elements from the song and incorporate that into a warm-up. We'll do the song, and then afterwards there might be some extended activities that you might want to link it to. So if it's a story or an activity or craft, there's lots of different ways that you can plan that. So yeah, it's just about thinking, what is this song? What do I want to achieve through this song? And how can I then thread that throughout that whole section? That's how I approach it anyway. And I'm sure pedagogues do lots of different have lots of different approaches and do different things. But that's what I tend to think about when I'm planning.
Yes, and today, while demonstrating, before you played the music, you actually showed us what you had in store. And I think that works well for children, because then they can connect with what you play and then how you engage with them. So I liked how you first familiarized us with the lyrics, the words, the movements, and then you went on to playing the music. And I think that's a very important part.
Yeah, it ties into that repetition. So at every stage you're giving ample opportunity for it to kind of become part of us.
Right. Yes. Okay, so I do have a few questions here, and what I'll do is also I'll activate the chat box here in case people want to post their questions directly. You may do that. I have just activated the chat box, but I do have some questions here on the link that I had shared. So so there's this one question that I'm clubbing. There are two similar questions. So again, what should we keep in mind while choosing music for grades 1 and 2? And I'm just merging that with another question: how do you increase interest for music in school-going children? So I think this is a question for children in the age group of say 6 to 8 years.
Yeah. I mean, ideally they've had access before that age to music, but that's not always happening, and it's the same in the UK. So what's the first bit about choosing the music, wasn't it? Repertoire.
Right.
I think,
how do you generate an interest, and what kind of music should you be choosing for that?
Well, obviously I'm going to say Boogie Night stuff, but also it's if you can start from the children's interests as well and go from there, and just also in your classroom just listen to lots of different types of music and just make it a natural part of every day. So picking those times that you can introduce singing or listening, and kind of just make it as natural as you'd sit down and read a book to the children. We're going to sing together, we're going to make music. And in terms of making increasing engagement, I just say just try lots of things out and see what sticks, because sometimes we make assumptions about what children like and don't like, and that's actually not right, and they always surprise us. They are our greatest teachers, children. But yeah, I mean, Boogie Nights is a great place to start as well for all the kind of benefits that we've talked about, but you can absolutely use other things and from your own cultures, from different cultures too. It will all, I think exposure to a wide range of things will be really, really useful.
Okay, great. There's another question that's come in, and that is, what genre of music is more beneficial during early childhood? Is there a genre that you recommend?
So it kind of links into my last answer. Anything is unless it's obviously maybe I've got swear words or something like that, but anything will be great, because there's some research around listening to music and how that can affect children at the early age. So in terms of genre, Boogie Nights uses lots of different genres, because we think it's really important that children have that wide range of listening and being able to tune into complex melodies and harmonies. There's I'd say the world's your oyster with that type of thing. So no overall recommendations, but yeah, just enjoy exploring.
Yes. Okay, so another question is that, is it important to use props at all times and instruments, or not? Or can you do it without?
You can absolutely do it without. Body percussion is great. Props can help children who aren't as confident maybe, and who don't want to vocalize, or they're not comfortable using their bodies. So it is a great way to work around that side of to support children with kind of more emotional needs. And it's, it gives a wide variety. However, body percussion and just singing is absolutely fine. Moving, you don't have to have that. But that's the great thing about Boogie Mites, is that we use low cost, homemade, recycled materials. It's good for the environment, it's good for our pockets as well in terms of cash, and the children can make them as well, so they're really invested in their own instruments. So yes, I mean, it's great to have them. You don't have to have them, but it does afford lots of different opportunities for children who don't necessarily feel confident in their own voices.
Right. No, I think that's great. And somebody's requested for some, energizers or clapping games. You did share the syllable, clapping bit, but is there anything else that you'd like to share with the...
Body percussion, just thinking about it, that's a great energizer because it involves the whole body. You can start with one sound, and then the next child, they add on something else. So it's a kind of cumulative game. So we got to the third one and a stamp, and try to encourage them to keep it simple. So that boosts memory. People get it wrong, it's funny, and it doesn't matter. So yeah, that's just one idea off the top of my head that you could do. Call and response is always good. So taking turns just to do a rhythm. So if I was to go, then clap that back. And then take it, pass that around. So each child has a chance to lead and do something, and we mirror that back, for example. And just playing around with voices as well. We're going then on to energizers for our voice, being making zzz, buzzing bees, bzzz. And these are great. I'm not going to go too technical, but to warm up the voices, doing the snakes, being lots of different animals, sequencing patterns of sound like that. Yeah. Crawling around the floor always wins as well.
Yeah, wonderful. I think that's great. So thank you so much. I'm going to just quickly take a look if there are any more questions. I think we've kind of covered, so I did put together a couple of questions, and I think we've covered everything mostly. So thank you so much, Liv, for answering the question so well. And for all the participants here, in case you think of something later, please feel free to share your questions with us, and we'll be happy to address them. And I also have some very good news for you. I'd like to share my screen and share it with all of you who are here attending the webinar today. We have some special offers. So just a moment. So this is a link that we'll also share with you on email. But if you are attending this webinar here today, you may click and sign up to access the 4 song resources that Liv demonstrated for us today, and for free. So you are eligible for these 4 resources by clicking on the link and enrolling and getting those 4 songs. You're also eligible for a 20% discount on anything that you purchase from the Boogie Mites website shop. So if you go over to the Boogie Mites website shop, the address is here. Liv will also be showing us what the website looks like, the store. The code that you may use at checkout is Boogie Spaces 20, and that will give you the 20% discount. So anything you purchase, you may be a parent or practitioner. But please remember that the parent products cannot be used in a public setting. This is a license for home use only. In case you are a school or an early years center, then you must buy from the practitioner shop and to acquire a license for use in a single named public setting. So I run a center by the name of NutSpace. So I procure my resources from the practitioner shop. That gives me the license to use it there. And parents, of course, can use it from the parent resources. So yes, you may contact me for a training for your school or activity center. That's my email address. And also you may want to find out about a Boogie Mites franchisee opportunity as well. So Liv is going to take us through some details now regarding that. And before Liv takes over, just an announcement for the ones who've joined in a little late. In case you've missed the beginning, you may, so we were streaming this live on our YouTube channel as well, NutSpace EdTech on YouTube. So you may want to go over there and catch up the entire webinar, and even Boogie Mites. Don't forget to check out the Boogie Mites YouTube channel as well. So both the channels, if you want to see the demo and the entire webinar, it'll be available there as well. So yes, and another question came up, is there a certificate that is being provided? So I'd like to answer that. There is no certificate for this webinar. However, there is a practitioner kit that can be bought, and you can also enroll for a training if you're interested. And you can contact me on my email address. It's rohini@nutspace.in. Now over to Liv. Yes, Liv.
Thank you. I was just wanting to show you what you get when you go to the link that Rohini shared, and this is the customer hub, and you get access to the 4 songs here. I Feel Alive, Let's Tap a Word, Gonna Tap, and Peekaboo. So with each song, hopefully my internet will work. Oh, now it decides to be a bit slow. Here we go. There's an instructor video there, so you see the lovely Tamsin taking you through it, and you can see it in all its wonderful naturalistic setting there with lots of young children. You get a download there on the right hand side, and then lots of different kind of ways that you can introduce a song, when you lead the song, and support activities. So you're really kind of supported with each song, and that's the same for each of those 4 songs. You can also have access to newsletter for childcare practitioners and parents, and just show you the childcare ones. You can subscribe, or you can just look at all the back issues. So there's lots of different things that you have access to there. I'll just stop sharing them.
They're slightly hazy. I think maybe that's got to do with a slight lag in the internet connection. But if you could post the link on the chat box, I think everybody will be able to go over to the website and take a look at it. And maybe if you could share your screen once again, because the last time you shared it was a little hazy. It wasn't very clear.
Sorry, yeah. I've just got the thing up. Bear with me 2 seconds. So, that's where I was going to. There we go. And so that will have access to all 4. I think Zoom is defeating me a little bit. I don't know if you can see that at all.
It's still a little hazy. Do you think it'll work on my screen if I were to paste this and share? Yeah, I could do that then. I think there is a slight internet issue. So I think this requires some kind of a name and resources. So yeah, I think.
But that's okay. You can sign up via that link in the chat anyway. And are you emailing people anyway, Rohini, afterwards?
Yes.
So
yes.
That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, and you'll get access, and it's great.
I will be emailing everybody. So yes, I think that brings us to the end of the webinar. So I'd like to just thank Liv for sharing such an insightful talk on the benefits of music in the early years, and also demonstrating how music can be used effectively at home, in an earlier center, in an earlier setting, a school, or whatever it is that you are exploring with your young children. And I think my biggest takeaway from this was how to engage with a song. So I think the pre, the during, and the post engagement, and of course the abundant benefits of using music in the early years, and not just language but cognition and numeracy and so many other benefits of music. So I think the sooner you introduce the children to music, the better it is. But even if you haven't yet, and if your child is maybe say 7 or 8, I think it's never too late. I probably started using music a few years ago, and I have myself seen a lot of changes. And like you mentioned, that it has this overall feel-good factor, overall mood uplifter. So that, apart from the many, many benefits that Liv shared with us. Also, another announcement for all those who joined in late and who couldn't catch the entire webinar: it was streaming live on our NutSpace YouTube channel. It's also available on the Boogie Mites YouTube channel. And Liv has posted a link. You could access that for the shop. You have a 20% off on the resources. If you use the code, we will be sending you an email with all these details. And lastly, in case you're looking at a Boogie Mites training, I am a trainer, and I have posted my email address in the chat box. It's rohini@nutspace.in. So you may contact me for a training, and also you may contact Boogie Mites if you're looking at franchising a Boogie Mites center or the resources in your center. So yes, any last words, Liv? Anything else?
Oh, just thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And it's such a delight to be able to speak to other people and just the enthusiasm there. But, you know, repetition, keep doing it every day, kind of little chunks, and that you'll really see that cumulative effect. But thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you.
Thank you, Liv, and thank you to everybody in the Boogie Mites team who had joined in as well, Sue, and our regards to Harriet as well. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to all the parents and educators for having taken out the time this weekend and joining us on this very special and important webinar. Thank you so much, and bye-bye. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.